Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Guys, so much has been happening and it seems like the news have just totally forgot and they're totally, blasé about what's happening in the world and the realities of the peril that we actually find ourselves in right now. What I want to talk about also today, guys, is these things and the cost of living, because guys, I don't care what the statistics say. I went to the store earlier on today. We're doing our camping trip. We changed everything out, and guys, I'll tell you about that at the end of the video. But I want to talk about Ukraine. I've just had an update from my friend. We were talking in depth about these strikes on the the long range. I guess they were long range, but the strikes on the long range early warning radar that the Ukrainians have destroyed of the Russians. We can't understand why. We can't understand why now. This whole situation just seems like it's escalating out of control. But the questions I wanted to answer were why now, who benefits? So, first of all, if I was in the operations room in Kiev, in Ukraine, and my guys had taken out this radar system, the Russian early warning system, I said, right, guys, get in here, right, integrity call. Who did it? It's not a witch hunt. Who did it? Somebody put their hand up. I said, right. Some things we just don't do. We just don't do some things. And that is kind of one of them. I don't know why it's done. I'm sure there's a reason for it. It's probably 4D chess. And then to take out another one a couple of days later, they're obviously targeting these things for some reason. Let me know in the comments why you think, because I see no benefit for Ukraine to take them out. So who does benefit? Well, the US and NATO benefit, because that means that, it's kind of blinded Russia to any movements that the US and NATO are doing, because Ukraine don't have these, they certainly don't have intercontinental ballistic capability. So it's kind of only really benefited the US and NATO. So remember the perception now from the Russian side. Okay, because, when you're looking at these conflicts, you've got to look from both sides. Now, if you're a Russian and you're seeing these build-up of troops, then your nuclear early warning system gets taken out. What are you supposed to think if you're Russian? So this is from the word of mouth. Then I was talking, so keep that in mind. I was talking to my friend. He works for one of the big NGOs in Kiev. I just said to him, I said, so what's happening on the street? What's the word? What are people talking about? And most Ukrainians now and people in that region are saying that it's a matter of when the attack is going to come on Sumy. Sumy is it's a big it's a city near Kharkiv. The significance of this is when this second front opened in Kharkiv, there was all these mainstream media reporters and they're saying, oh, we don't know why Russia's doing it, what's the significance, what are they doing? And I said, guys, go look through my videos. And I said, well, he's doing a pincer movement, so he's going to come from the north. Once he's secured the north, he's going to come from the south, and then he's going to join the north and south up. That will isolate Kharkiv then. Once you've got that, once you've got it isolated, you don't need to invest any troops in there. You don't need to, you don't need to waste any manpower, any resources. You literally just turn their utilities off. So that's how you control Kharkiv. After this, guys, though, what we need to think about is what else has been happening. So let's look at the facts now. You've got there's reports that Russia's massing a huge army in the north of the border. The Ukrainians are worried about this attack coming from Sumy. Once Kharkiv's been pincered, you've got to think about whether the Ukrainians are going to ask for assistance. Remember, France, Lithuania have already said that if Ukraine asks for assistance, then they will go in. So it's come out in the news like a couple of hours ago that the Baltic states, so all the Baltic states now, so Lithuania, Estonia and Latvia, they're all saying they're going to go into Ukraine if Ukraine asks for it. Poland's starting to talk about going into Ukraine if Ukraine asks for it. Now, this is the key phrase that they're using, guys. significant ground in eastern Ukraine. So that's what they're saying. Remember that. If Russia gains significant ground in eastern Ukraine, that is going to be the buzz phrase for the next couple of weeks. Remember that, guys, okay? I'll say it again. If Russia gains significant ground in east of Ukraine. Remember, that word significant, what does it mean? It could mean anything. Significant to me is different to significant to you. A significant amount of money to me is going to be totally different than a significant amount of money to Jeff Bezos. So you know what I mean, guys. The language they're using is kind of, it means they can go when they want now. So basically, you know, those are the countries that are going to tee off. France, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia and Poland for now. Also, we've got Belgium now, who's come out and they've said that they're going to give more than 24 F-16s to the Ukrainians. And I've said this all along. Okay, that's fine, giving them the aeroplane. What does that mean? Once you give somebody an aeroplane, you can't just, you know, they're sophisticated pieces of equipment. They've, you know, radios, engines, an electronic suite. Then you've got your different types of payload. So, first of all, where are all these payloads going to come from? Where are they going to be operating from? Who's going to be servicing them? Where are the spare parts coming from? Where is all this happening? It's all well and good saying you're going to give the aircraft, but there's so much more to giving an aircraft than giving them the piece of equipment. So, remember from my earlier videos, guys, I said Poland is going to be key. So, the Russians already know, and they will have identified the only airfields that the Ukrainians can actually fly these F-16s from. And as soon as they start flying the F-16s, the Russians are just going to use glide munitions and they're just going to destroy those airfields. So I don't even think that the F-16s will go into Ukraine. So that leaves us only a few options really, and you can kind of narrow that down to one option, Poland. I'm saying right now that I think the F-16s will not even be flown from Ukraine. They will be flown and operated from Poland. Now, remember what we've just said about the countries that are teeing off now, guys. You've got France, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia and Poland. If Poland they already know this because they're, you know, whatever comes out in the media, whatever comes out in the press, you know, that's already a done deal. What they're thinking about now is 5 moves ahead. If Poland already know that they have to operate these F-16s from Poland, it makes absolutely no sense for Poland not to move into Ukraine, for Poland not to fully commit. So that is kind of where we're looking at the moment. It's looking like, you know, as soon as these F-16s arrive, and I think that's going to be the next, I don't want to give dates anymore. You know, I give dates and then it doesn't happen and it happens a week later, or, you know, or something even worse happens to what I've said and people are like, oh, you was wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. So I kind of don't want to give dates, I want to give events. So the next event to look out for, well, it's 2 things really. It's this significant ground in eastern Ukraine. What does that mean? We don't know. That's the one to look out for. And it's the arrival and the first strikes using the F-16s. Because then we can kind of understand, right, okay, so they're using the F-16s, right. Where are they using them from? That's the next question. And as soon as they start using the F-16s, I don't think that they're ever going to fly them from Ukraine. So that means Poland. So when they start using the F-16s, I think more or less the exact same time, that's when you're going to see this NATO push into Ukraine. And remember, you know, the countries that we've mentioned, I'm not going to mention, I've done it a few times, you know, but they're going to be the initial countries that move in. And once they're in, once that river's been crossed, all the troops can go in then. You can have Brits, you can have Americans, you can have Canadians, you can have any nationality to go in then. Because as long as they weren't on the first, nobody really knows who's going over that border. But again, guys, you know, you need to look at the perception. You need to look at the perception now from the Russian side. So let's just quickly recap, but from the Russian side. NATO is giving our enemy nuclear capable aircraft. NATO forces have just destroyed our nuclear early warning system. France, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Poland say they're going to invade. You see where I'm going with this, guys? Okay, can you see the perception and the duality of this now? So you've got both sides now amassing huge forces. You've got the force from the Russians amassing in the north, and remember there was the huge conscription push in Russia, like I can't remember what it was, months ago. We've not heard of anything since then. So what have they been doing? What have the Russians been doing? They've been training their soldiers. They've been equipping their soldiers. They've been making sure they don't make the mistakes that they made in 2022. And when I'm talking about this to people and people think, oh, Putin wants peace, all this sort of stuff. It's, we need, guys, at what context do we see either side from the Ukrainian side? Right, Ukrainians. Look at all this damage that the Russians have done in your country. Are you going to accept them surrendering? Or, sorry, do you want peace talks with them while they're still in your country? Would you? Would I? That's the reality of the situation. And you've got to think about it from other people's perspective. It's all well and good us being here, sat in the UK in our nice warm rooms, watching things on CNN. And it really does annoy me, guys. These, these news reporters, they kind of talk about these things like it's a game, like they're commentating on some sporting event. And it really grates me that there's young men and women dying on the front line, and it really annoys me that people talk about it like this. It's just so tragic. So yeah, so you've got to think about the perceptions of these things and where things are going and how we move forwards, because the Ukrainians are, imagine whatever country you are in the world, imagine you'd been another country had invaded you for 2 years. They'd killed a lot of your people. They'd destroyed a lot of your stuff. You know yourself personally a lot of people who've died in this conflict, and then all of a sudden they want peace talks as long as they can have the land they've taken. Not a chance they're going to go for that. Now put this on the Russian side. At what point do we feel the Russians are going to hold their hands up and say, like, is Putin going to hold his hands up and say, okay guys, I'm sorry, it was my mistake, let's just drink vodka and be happy? It's not going to happen, alright? Putin's not going to back down. The Ukrainians are not going to back down until all the Russians are out of their country. And let's not forget, there was a huge annexation of Crimea in, I think, 2014, maybe in late 2013, and nobody seems to talk about that anymore. The reality is, this conflict is, it's not the end, and it's certainly not the beginning, but it is the end of the beginning. And we're seeing now all the countries line up, getting ready. The F-16's moving in place. All the countries now saying they're going to move in. I can only, if I've got friends in Eastern Europe, and if you speak, I've got a few Estonian friends, and the sentiment from the Estonians. You go and look online, guys. I'm not going to go through it here. Go look online and you'll find a lot of reports from Estonians, how Estonians think about this conflict. And for us in the far west, they're relatively safe. The UK, France, Germany to some extent. We're relatively safe. These other countries are on the front line. They know what it's like. They've probably got grandparents who've had more experience than we have. Excuse me. So that's the reality of this situation as we're moving forward. It is not getting any better. And what we're talking about now, we've just crossed, for me, this taking out these long-range early warning detection radars. Guys, I'm pretty liberal when I'm talking about these wars and stuff. I've been in this industry for 24 years. I understand that when people are having they're having a fight, pretty much everything's, it is what it is. But taking out this system, it makes no sense to me at all. Remember, before I move on to the next thing, remember the perspective now from the Russians. Massive troops building on the border, exercise steadfast defender. That's true, that's happening. Russian propaganda, Russian media will be reporting on that. All these countries now pledging F-16s to the Ukrainians. Remember, the Russian media will not be reporting that as we're reporting it. the Russian media will be reporting that as Belgium pledges 24 nuclear capable F-16s, you know, in addition to what they've already been promised. Then the Ukrainians take out the, you know, the early warning systems. All these things, it's like the build up to like, guys, this is the, when we look back on this, we're going to, all these things are going to be in a build up and somebody's going to put these in a montage. And it's just absolutely wild if you think about what's happening. And we're kind of numb to it. You know, we're literally numb to it here in the West. We kind of pay, when we do, we pay it lip service. We're just like, oh yeah, another thing, because we've become so so numb to what's happening in the world. And guys, honestly, the escalation at the moment, you know, from what I'm talking to the guys out in Ukraine, it's looking like days, not weeks. So that's kind of the timeline that we're working on. Anyway, so I want to talk a little bit now about cost of living and what we're seeing in the and people prepping for whatever. I think it's a real thing. So what we're seeing on, like, I don't know, on the statistics, online or wherever it is, that inflation's at like, I don't know, something ridiculous like 2%, or I don't know what it is. So this week, or like I've been starting doing it, it'll take me a while to do it. We've got some food in our basement. We've got, like, you know, for 3 months for our family. So every year we'll rotate that out. You know, some people say, you know, you should use it. Some people say you should do this, you should do that. You know, you should do whatever works for you, right? And this is what works for us. So we'll have it down there. Around about this time, we'll get it all out. We'll see what we can keep, and then we'll just put you know, we'll buy fresh stuff and put the fresh stuff back down there. I know some of you are going to say that's not the most efficient way, and I get that, but it's how we do it. So this thing here, guys, is a, what is it? It's a mixed grill. It's like, I took the wrapper off it because I don't know if there's like, you know, copyright things involved. So this is basically mixed grill. You get like a sausage, you get like some potatoes, like a little meatball or something, and some beans. I can remember last year when we bought these, I paid £1 and I got 2 of these, and I thought that was a pretty good deal. Yesterday when I bought those, it was £2 for 1. I was like, you know, I said to the guy, I said, wow, that's really gone up. You know, and I got talking to him, and he said, yeah, we can't stock tinned food fast enough. He said it's going so quick. So, you know, I was just thinking, wow, lots of people are buying this stuff now, which is obviously supply, demand. When the supply is high, when demand's high, supply is obviously low because demand outstrips supply. And then the prices go up. I've been saying this for such a long time, guys. I've been saying the price of everything is going to go up. And then I was thinking, well, you know what? I spent like, what, 50 pence a can, and they're now worth £2. So I was thinking, well, you know, I don't even think you'd get that investment if you invested in gold or something. And I started to go down like a little tangent and thinking about like people who are buying food, you know, long life food. They're not, you know, they're kind of investing, making an investment, because the food I've got now in my cellar, you know, it's worth, if we judge by that, it's worth 4 times more. So, you know, we need to start thinking about this. And when people say, I haven't got enough money, well, it was 4 times cheaper if I'd have bought it last year. Will that be 4 times more expensive next year? You know, I don't know. But it's really, it really changed my mind when I started to think about things differently. And then I was thinking about, like, you know, how much you pay for car insurance, and you never have a crash, and where does that money go? You don't see anything back from it. You know, you should kind of think about this as like a personal insurance or a family insurance or something. And also, you can use it. You know, we go camping and we use our old stuff, so we use this every year. And you're always going to use your food and stuff, because, you know, you eat it. And as the cost of living moves forwards and the price of everything goes up and up and up, these long shelf life foods like the mixed grill and beans, you know, the type of stuff, It's all just becoming more and more expensive. Guys, is that what you guys are seeing out on the streets? Are you guys seeing that at your supermarket, at your local store, wherever you do your shopping? Because, you know, I had a really long conversation with the guy today, and he's saying like, you know, we literally can't put it on the shelves quick enough, and it's going. But yeah, let me know what you think, guys. Also, I want to just quickly mention that the, you know, water, guys, all right? Water is a big one. Remember, Devon Water is still down. How long's it been now? Guys, there's so many water companies that are about to go bust for well, it kind of was a little joke, but, you know, forgive me, guys. Yeah, there's so many water companies, I feel, that because of the way, and I've done videos on this before, the way the water companies are structured, you know, they're just they just don't have the strength to the financial strength to move forward, because they're paying people out, they're paying their shareholders, they're not reinvesting. But, you know, I've done that to death. I think in this country, in the UK, we are going to have, you know, people are saying, oh, will I be safe if I live near this base, if I live near that base? I personally don't think we're going to yet. I don't think we're in a situation where I see, you know, attacks coming onto the UK, like missile attacks, for example. What I do see, though, 100% this is coming. We're going to be involved in soft war. So soft war is basically when people use criminal gangs to attack your infrastructure, your utilities, set fires, you know, all that sort of stuff. Basically just be, you know, cause havoc in somebody's, in somebody's, what would you call it in the army? Fish and chips. What is it? Fish and chips, fish. Fighting in someone's house, causing havoc in people's streets. Fish and chips, guys. That is what they're doing, all right? Now, we've seen recently on the Polish border, one of the Polish border guards was stabbed by a migrant. So you can see that these migrants are being weaponized. There's no two ways about it now, you know, and I've been saying this for the longest time, and I don't mean any offense to anybody who's come to this country as a migrant. What I'm saying is the people who are coming here illegally, especially the 31,000 people who have vanished, you know, 31,000 people in the UK, 31,000 migrants in the UK have vanished. They don't know where they are. We don't know where they are. How are they getting fed? Who's housing them? Where are they working? What are they doing? You know, even if 1% of that decides to be a criminal gang, you've got yourself an army. Not only is it an army, it's an untraceable army that can move freely, undetected, because it doesn't matter how many CCTV cameras you've got set up. If you get this guy's face, if you've got no fixed address for him, if you don't know where he is or her, you're not finding him. You're not sending the police round to find that person to knock on their door, because you've got no door to knock on. And that's the reality, guys, of the situation where we are. And, you know, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the teeth. I feel the water supply in the UK is the easiest target. It's going to be so easy to sabotage the UK's water supply. Tell me, would this be beyond the realms of possibility? Right, U10, next Friday, go and destroy this pump here. 10 different pumps. Then on a Friday, you have 10 water companies, their main pump gets destroyed, and they get paid £1,000 each, or whatever. Guys, that would be catastrophic. A lot of these systems, the pipes, the wells, the pumps, you can't get parts for them anymore. So whereas you can break a little part, a little bit of a well, a little bit of something, you can't get that part anymore. They stop working. They stop producing them. So you have to replace the whole system, because that's how it works. So you do a little bit of damage, you cause a lot of trouble, you have the whole country out of water, double that up with a cyber attack, double that up with some other, you know, roustabouts, paying some people to protest. It's all, this summer, guys, it's all gonna be, guys, I don't think we're gonna get to September without being in a huge conflict. Guys, I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if nothing else, guys, if you don't do anything else, get yourself some water. I'll see you guys later.